In a beautiful village named Skyland, there lived a very greedy woman named Corona. She owned a meat shop. Every day she thought of new ways to cheat people. She would stick a magnet under her scale so that the meat would weigh less and she could charge more money. She sold meat at high prices, but since there were no other meat shops in the village, people were forced to buy from her. Her dishonesty didn't stop there. She started stealing people's chickens as well. In the afternoons when everyone was asleep, she would steal chickens and bring them to her home. She would then slaughter them in the morning and sell the meat. When someone's animal died, they would throw it in the fields, but Corona would secretly go at night, drag the dead animal to her house, and sell its meat in the morning. Nobody in the village knew about her dirty deeds. One day, Corona went to the city to learn a new trick for cheating. She paid a butcher to teach her a new technique for cheating in meat. The butcher told her,
Trick, if you inject water into a large artery of the animal right after slaughtering it, the water spreads throughout the meat, making it heavier.
A few days later, a rich man's daughter was getting married in the village. His servant Joseph came to buy 40 kilos of meat from Corona. Corona gave him meat that had been injected with water, which weighed 40 kilos, but was actually only 20 kilos of meat. When the meat was cooked at the wedding, half the guests remained hungry because the meat had shrunk to half its size. The rich man thought Joseph had cheated and brought less meat. He fired Joseph and humiliated him. That night, when Corona lay down to sleep, she saw a witch climbing the wall like a lizard, with blood-stained clothes. The witch jumped onto her bed and threatened her, saying she needed to give her an animal to eat, or she would eat Corona instead. Frightened, Corona gave her a goat. The witch started coming every day, taking an animal each time and warning Corona not to tell anyone, or she would eat her. Soon, all of Corona's animals were gone, and she had to sell her house. She moved into a dirty little hut in the forest. One morning, as Corona woke up and stepped out of her hut to go to the washroom, she screamed in fear because the witch was sitting on the washroom roof. Corona, trembling with fear, joined her hands and pleaded with the witch.
Zeus, I have nothing left. I have given you everything. This is the punishment for my dishonesty. If I get everything back, I promise I will never cheat again.
Hearing this, the witch removed her mask and revealed herself as Rosie, the daughter of Joseph, the servant. She told Corona that her father was fired because Corona had sold him water-injected meat. When it was cooked, the water evaporated and the meat shrunk, so her father's boss thought he was dishonest and fired him. Rosie explained that she did all this to teach Corona a lesson. She then returned all the animals and money that Corona had given her after selling her house. But even after this, Corona didn't stop being dishonest. Corona's life became even more difficult when the villagers started talking about her dishonesty. One day, a wise elder of the village, Friedi, came to Corona. He advised her to feel ashamed of her actions and seek forgiveness from the villagers. But Corona ignored his advice and continued her dishonest ways. The more she cheated, the more her wealth decreased, but she didn't understand why. One day, Corona tried a new trick. She started soaking the meat in chemicals after slaughtering the animals, which increased the weight of the meat even more. These chemicals made the meat harmful to health, but Corona didn't care. The villagers soon suspected something was wrong with the meat, as many people fell ill after eating it. The villagers united and raided Corona's shop, discovering all her dishonesty. They threw her out of the village. Corona decided to take her remaining wealth and move to the city. In the city, Corona opened a small shop and tried to work honestly. But her old habits were hard to break. She started cheating again. This time, however, her luck ran out. One day, the city's big meat traders caught her red-handed and handed her over to the police. Corona was sent to jail. In jail, Corona realized her mistakes. She truly repented for the first time in her life and decided that if she ever got free, she would follow the path of truth and honesty. Many years later, Corona was released from jail. She returned to Skyland Village and sought forgiveness from Baba Fridi. Baba Fridi forgave her and asked her to seek forgiveness from the villagers as well. Corona confessed all her sins to the villagers and asked for their forgiveness. The villagers forgave her and gave her another chance. This time, Corona truly changed her life. She opened a small vegetable shop and worked honestly. Her shop thrived, and she became a respected citizen of the village once again. Corona spent the rest of her life with honesty and service.